Hello there. This is Dr. Jason Munsell. It is 2:17 Wednesday afternoon, the year of our Lord 2017. I'm going to cover or go over some of chapter 1. I'm hoping that a lot of you have now purchased your book or gotten it in some sort of fashion. Again, the idea here is that you sort of read the required reading, watch me sort of take you through the chapters, look at my PowerPoint or however you all want to do it, all to help you better understand the course content and prepare your assignments and everything like that. I have been pretty impressed with so far what I've seen with the threads and the tweets. I like particularly when I see folks responding to one another and creating a conversation, which is really what a thread is. And I like the stuff that I see on Twitter. Usually I try to respond and sort of ask questions and stuff like that on the threads or the forums, and then on the tweets I'll sort of like your tweet, or sometimes if I think it's generally something that lots of people, other people might want to see, I will retweet stuff. But been very impressed so far. Not all of you are on the ball, but most of you are. If you have not yet started, engaging yourself fully in the course, please do so as quickly as possible. I don't want you to get too far behind. But again, one of the reasons why I give you until Sunday to do some of this stuff is I know that you gotta you work. You got to catch up at some point, perhaps over the weekend. So, okay. And if ever you have any questions about anything at all, you can email me. And if you need to talk, either face-to-face or on the phone, I can email you my cell phone number, whatever I can do to help. So, Chapter 1, all about Michael Jackson. Starting with me. This is the first, the man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror, or the person in the mirror. So the very first section here is the starting with me section, and this very first chapter is about personal lifestyle, and this lecture will be thrilling. Thriller. Boy, I remember back in the day when MTV actually showed videos, and they would actually sort of say, and on the top of the hour we will show Thriller. God, it was so exciting. Okay. So what is personal lifestyle in the first place? You can't really see that, can you? Ah, sorry. You'll be able to see once I post it. Basically, it's the personal choices that we make in our everyday lives that sort of make us the kind of person we are, but also it impacts everything else. But yeah, that's it. I like the, well, there's an end quote, but this is all in part comes from Gandhi. Be the change you wish to see. So if you want the world to be this way, start with you. That is what this is all about. Okay. Always wanted to correct things. End quote. Ah. End quote. Oh, it's enable editing. End quote. End quote. We gotta have an end quote. There we go. Now, one of the things that I think is really interesting, and I'll let you, when you get the book, read all this stuff, is that in our contemporary Western culture, a lot of our own identity and the idea of lifestyle oftentimes is caught up in our consumption. The stuff that we want to buy and style, whatever style might mean. I know, for instance, I enjoy wearing certain things. I enjoy, I drive a Honda Fit because I am fit. It's amazing how cars, they use names and commercials and stuff like that, not really to promote the vehicle, but to promote a lifestyle associated with that vehicle. So if you consider yourself an outdoor person, whether you never, even if you never go camping or anything like that, you're going to buy a Jeep. because that makes you look like or feel like you're outdoorsy. Or Land Rover. I rove the land, although I don't. So yeah, it's we sometimes are what we have, which is sort of problematic. So what we need to consider is that our own personal choices impart what we consume, what we buy. It's not just our thing. It impacts everything else. So there really isn't any true live and let live, because when you are living, you are having impact on other people who are living, and other non-human animals that are living. So we need to consider personal lifestyle. It moves on to, or the author here, what's this guy's name? Larry Albert Butts. He giggle. He also talks about MLK. Everybody loves MLK. And so, talks about issues of interdependence. But again, the big idea here is that we need to consider how what we do impacts other people, which is also known as lifestyle activism, also known as everyday activism. And so this next thing, lifestyle politics, the idea here is that the personal is political. What we decide, how we decide to, wear our hair, whether we wear makeup or not, whether we shave or not. Look at this. This is called utter masculinity. But we make these choices, but we need to consider how. I mean, I'm basically doing this because this is everyday activism against the Gillette conglomerate and all the monopolies that folks have on shaving cream. I'm trying to save the cream because the cream lives out there, and they're abused, they're caged, and then put in a little thing to save the cream, save the shaving cream. But that's real. That isn't real. But the idea of shaving, particularly certain parts of the body should not have hair on it, though it naturally does, particularly for women. But that we'll get into that. I'm not saying stop shaving. I'm just saying that's sort of the point here. We need to think about lifestyle activism and everyday activism. What we do with our own bodies, what we choose to buy and not buy, where all that type of stuff has impact. And so we start with us. Everyday activism. We think about the micro to the macro. What are the simple decisions that I make every day about what to eat, where to buy my stuff, what to buy, all that type of stuff, but how that impacts everybody else. And so a lot of this has to do with the economic impact, because again, going back to our contemporary sense of identity, most of the time it's caught up with consumption, what we buy, and so we can't have economic impact they talk about here, perhaps more so than political impact through our everyday activism. So when we're buying stuff, what the book tells us is that we need to understand a couple of things here. We need to understand both sides of the product, right? We have to think of the consumption side, all the stuff, but not only that, the production side, because that shaving cream just doesn't show up in the bilo. That delightful, processed, fake K-Rab dip that you so enjoy, even it starts with a K because it's not real crab. Where does that come from? So the production side and the consumption side. And we can decide, again, through our purchasing power, what to buy and what not to buy, and that can make a difference. We need to think about, particularly with the production side, environmental impact of stuff, labor conditions, pay equality, treatment of women and others, treatment of benefits packages to LGBTQ employees, treatments of chickens and cows, it says, and all this type of stuff. So we need to think about all this stuff. By the way, and this is hard, right? I do like chicken. Do you know what's in chicken McNuggets? You can go see this if you want to, but it is chicken, I think. This is from Food Matters. If you can see this, it's what's really in chicken McNuggets. Scary. Oh, autolyzed yeast extract. Sodium phosphate, sodium aluminum phosphate. What is this? Has at least 2 of these ingredients. Blah blah blah. Hydrogenated. I can't even say it. Soybean oil with TBHQ, a petroleum derivative, is used as stabilizer in perfumes, resins, varnishes, and oil field chemicals. Yummy. And it causes stomach tumors. What are you going to have for dinner tonight? TBHQ. It's the same stuff they put in Silly Putty, which tastes pretty good, actually. Okay, so, yeah, there's always tons of stuff, but they're so, chicken nuggets are good. Where am I? But basically it's hard, because a lot of this stuff is not transparent, right? We just, the past few decades, we've had more information that, it's law now that folks have to put the the nutritional stuff out there, but how many people actually look at that stuff? We should, but we got to do our research. Where does this stuff come from? What is, all the consumption side, and what are the problems with the production and the consumption? And, God, it talks about, cancer-causing agents and antiperspirants. Yeah. Smells like change. But in any case, so we need to do our research, and then think about what are we going to do? How are we going to choose what to buy and not to buy? And so what they say, or what Larry Butts tells us, maximize the good, minimize the bad. The most brilliant idea I've ever heard in my life. Very novel. Maximize the good and minimize the bad. Because sometimes you just got to hunker down and buy a hot dog. But, it talks about all these, the chapter talks about all these different things that you can think about. When you maximize the positive, you can ask yourself all these different types of questions, but again, you have to find the answers, right? So you have to do your research, or talk to people, and they might not know what the hell they're talking about. Does the company pay its employees well? Does it invest in the community? Does it altruistically contribute to charity? Does it promote going green? So we want to maximize our positive impact. Talking about cooperatively owned businesses, family-owned businesses instead of the big boxes. But again, big boxes are cheaper. And then minimize the negative, right? We can choose to avoid businesses that are excessively pollute the environment, violate safety regulations, fund politicians and policies that you oppose, mistreat folks, blah, blah, blah. And it talks about all these unethical companies. And there are these. I was actually in the preparation for this. I was doing a lot of research, trying to find some stuff. It talks about factory farm, but just some things that I found. There's a site, there's an organization called Ethical Consumer that talks about the best and worst